If you lived in Haverhill in the 50s and 60s, you'll remember stopping in at Woolworth's on the corner of Main and Merrimack streets. Although the building has been closed up for over 40 years, a few hallmarks of the old store still remain, including what may be the last intact Woolworth lunch counter in the nation. The iconic counter will be traveling 1,000 miles this summer to take its place in history. America in the 50s and 60s. Hot rods, hula hoops, drive-ins, and an F.W. Woolworth's on every main street. F.W. Woolworth's was a focal point of White's Corner for over 20 years before closing its doors in 1970. The building, which has been vacant for 43 years, is slated for demolition in the coming months.
I do now, yeah, I do. I love you, my baby. Yes, I do. I want you, my baby. Yes, I do. I need you, my baby. Yeah, I do.
The Buttonwoods Museum is preserving its historic lunch counter by loaning it to the new Civil Rights Museum in Jackson, Mississippi, for an exhibit of the famed lunch counter sit-ins in the early 1960s. Peter Carboni and Dan Meter of the Haverhill Historical Society told us more.
We're taking out an 8-foot section of the Woolworth lunch counter and 4 chairs, 4 stools, and we're preparing them for shipping to a museum in Jackson, Mississippi, who is doing an exhibit on the sit-ins from 50 years ago, which were done at Woolworth lunch counters. And coincidentally, this is the only Woolworth lunch counter they could find. And they only found it because online it showed that this building was being torn down, and it was a Woolworth building. So they hoped to find the counter still in here. And luckily, it's still here.
We're with the Haverhill Historical Society Buttonwoods Museum, and the counter actually at the Woolworths belongs to us at the museum, and we're allowing them to use it for their exhibit for a limited period of time. So this will be preserved forever. We're trying to see if we can remove the whole unit, which is probably about 40 feet long, with all the stools and the bar back and all that kind of thing, but it's a daunting task. So at least we know we will be getting this specific portion that will be preserved. It was built for Woolworths. You know, they built it back in '47. It was used throughout that time solely as the Woolworths until, like Peter had said earlier, just for a short time after it closed, there was a little furniture store in here for maybe a year or something like that. Other than that, it's been vacant. So the history of it has been just because of who owned it after that purchased it. He just kept it in this particular state, and it just deteriorated over time. So now the only thing of worth that's in Woolworths is the basically the counter and a couple of signs. We're going to try to see if we can remove a couple of signs. But other than that, the inside is really in dilapidated condition. So we've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb, searched high and low to see if there was anything worth preserving for the Haverhill community. And basically, this is the most relevant that would seem to fit for our future.
I remember I lived in Bradford, and my mother would bundle us up, three children, when we were all 5, 6 years old, and we'd walk over the bridge to downtown Haverhill, and we'd come into Woolworth's. We'd come in here as kids.
Did you eat at the counter, Peter?
I cannot recall eating at the counter, to tell you the truth. Cannot recall that, but I know Lester Mensis ate in the 3rd chair from the right end every Saturday, because he just told me.
I do now, yes, I do.